Hey guys, it's Rebecca, Only Black Girl here, checking in. How you guys doing today? Y'all doing good? Happy International Women's Month. Woot woot. Shout out to all my women. Yes, women, non-binary, whatever you identify as long as you're not a cis straight man, bitch. Shout out to you. So please ignore my hair. I just did it yesterday and I did my braids a little bit too tight, so they're still stiff. So they kind of just like sticking out at odd angles, and I'm working on it, okay? I have to do another hot water soak tonight, and hopefully that'll help a little bit. But so just ignore what's happening over here, okay? Okay. Back to the reason why I'm bothering you today. I'm here with another words mean things / language lesson for y'all. I want to talk about this because we're in the middle of an election year, series, whatever you call it. And, there's a lot of talk about the black vote and the Hispanic vote and the blah, blah, blahs and the blah, blah, blah. But one thing the election season period is annoying as shit. And I try my best to just get the information that I need and then ignore the rest of the shenanigans. But something that I hear all the time that drives me crazy is when they say the African American vote or the African American population, because every black person is not African American. Every black person in America is not African American. Every black voter that you're trying to pander to is not African American, which leads me to what I wanted to talk about today, which is the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality. Now, it is not just politicians that mess this up. A whole lot of you, your grandmamas, your nephew, your uncle are still out here mixing these terms up. And I think it's important to understand the difference between all three of those. Because again, when we're having conversations about society and race and ethnicity and culture and all that stuff, using the correct terms matter. Otherwise, you're confusing everybody and it don't make no damn sense. Now, before we do that, I'm gonna need y'all to click that subscribe button down there in the corner, because I'll be looking at my stats, right? I'll be watching y'all. And like 70% of y'all that watch my channel ain't subscribed, and I don't understand why you hate me so much. Like, if you watching the channel, especially if you watching it regularly, why wouldn't you just hit subscribe? Just hit the subscribe button, because it helps me be able to help you by providing content, because you get more subscribers, I can get more views. Hopefully someday I might actually make some revenue, because right now I'm not, because YouTube wanted to come up here and change all their terms and shit and shit on small crit. You know what? I'm going off on a rant. That's not better. Just hit the subscribe button. Okay. Help me, help you, help me. Great. Diving into this topic. I want to start with race. Okay. Cause it's like race, ethnicity, nationality. Race is the overall category in which the others kind of fall into, except for nationality. We'll get to that in a second. It's a little bit different. So race is the main like umbrella category, right? It's black, it's Latina, which actually technically Latina ain't even a race, but that's a whole nother thing for another day. It's Asian, Native American, all white. Those are races, right? Those are general social categories that were made up, because they're not real, they're not biological, they're literally just categories that were made up for purposes of putting people into categories. So all black people are in categories, and it's all determined by whatever common traits and logistics that have been assigned to those races, right? So black people are considered people who come from the birthplace of Africa, who have brown skin, who have big noses and like all that kind of stuff. White people are people who are from Europe or the Caucasus Mountains or whatever. Asians are people who are from the continent of Asia. Those are very, very broad terms, they're not specific, right? Because you can say Asian and nobody gonna know what the fuck you talking about, because Asia's a big ass continent, bitch. The race itself is just a very big umbrella category. If you put like Beyonce, cool, but like, what is Beyonce? You'd have to list like artist, entrepreneur, queen, filmmaker, documentary extraordinaire, whatever, right? So race is just the overall umbrella category in which other stuff are subcategorized under. It's not real, it's not biological, it's literally just a label that was made up for social purposes of categorizing people. Okay, got that? All right. Put that in your notes. Ethnicity is a subcategory of race. Ethnicity is where we get into individual cultures, where we get into African American, African. Even that, you could get more specific, like Nigerian, Kenyan, all those things would be considered ethnicities. So where you have race, which is the general category, overall category, ethnicity is more the specific subcategory. Now, the only thing I want to touch on is the term African American, because for some reason, y'all think, and by y'all I mean white people have got it in their heads that African American is like a umbrella term for all Black people, which is not true. And technically, even African American is not even the term for Black people who just live in America. The term African American was specifically created for people who were descendants of Africans that came to America in the slave trade. So they're specifically Africans that were forced to come here and become American. So African American. It is not a term for just any Black person that lives in America. Technically. Now, if you are a Black person who lives in America and aren't technically African American and you want to identify yourself as African American, girl, go ahead. I'm not going to fight with you. But technically speaking, that's not what African American is. So when you use the term African American to just apply to all Black people everywhere in the world, it don't make no damn sense. Like, I have literally seen people refer to Black people in Europe as African American. Now, how does that make sense, Susan? African American Europe. African American Europe. How does African American apply to Europe? One and one are not equal in two, sis. So it just don't make no sense. It's literally in the words African American, American, African, African American, and you talking about Europe. So how does that? It don't compute. It just don't work. It's specifically for, you guessed it, America. Who would have thought? Wow, the confusion. Oh my God, it's just so confusing. I mean, words. Who would have known they meant exactly what they mean? It's crazy. So for example, I myself am a descendant of slaves in America, so I would be considered African American. However, my sister, who is also adopted, she's from Ethiopia, like straight up from Ethiopia. So her ethnicity would not necessarily be considered African American, and she does not identify as African American. She identifies as African, more specifically Ethiopian. That is her ethnicity because she wasn't born in America and she wasn't a descendant of the slave trade in America. So for her ethnicity, we're both Black. We both live in America. We're both citizens of America. However, she is not African American. She does not identify as African American. She identifies from Africa because that is where she's from. That's where she's born. That's where her family's from. And she's from Ethiopia. So more specifically, she identifies as Ethiopian. See, we both Black. We both in America. We both American citizens, but we are not both African American. Y'all following me? It's the same thing when y'all just be shouting out Asia and you expect everybody to know what specific ethnicity. Are you talking about China? You talking about Korean? Are you talking about Indian? Are you talking about Israeli? Like, what are you talking about, girl? Asia is a big ass continent. You can't just be shouting out these general ass areas and expecting us all to know what you talking about specifically. Like, what y'all, get it together. It's 2020. We got to get this. The dictionary's right there. It's right there. Race is up here. The ethnicity is a subcategory of that. And now we're moving to nationality, because this one's I think where people get confused. So nationality is simply your place of birth. That's it. It's just the place of birth. And I think people kind of lump this in with ethnicity a lot, which I think confuses people, because you could be Black African, but your nationality could be American. I know, mind fucking blown. I think ethnicity and nationality get lumped in a lot because most of the time where you're born is typically the geographical area that your ethnicity is, correct, right? So like most people who are born in African countries are probably black. Most of the time. I know, white people have made their way in there. There's some other races in there. But it's pretty safe to assume that if your nationality was Nigerian, that your ethnicity may also be Nigerian. So I think that's why nationality and ethnicity get used, what's the word I'm looking for? Interchangeably a lot, but it's not. Because there are cases where people are born in different places than their ethnicity is generally from, right? So like I know, like for example, Lupita Nyong'o, I know she is Kenyan, but she was actually raised in Mexico. So that doesn't make her not Kenyan. It just means that she was raised in Mexico. Like her family is still Kenyan, but I think most of her childhood, she was raised in Mexico. She speaks Spanish. So her nationality technically is Mexican. Like, but that's not to be confused with her being Mexican or her ethnicity being Mexican. It just means that her nationality, where she was born, was Mexico. Actually, I don't know if she was born there or she was just raised there, but you get the point, okay? We all got that? Y'all, we all on the same page now? Good, because let me tell you, it's 2020 and I don't want to hear no more of y'all calling random ass people who ain't African American. Like, what are you talking about? Stop. Use your sense, please. Okay? Thank you. All right, guys, that is all I wanted to relay to you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you found it at all helpful. And go ahead and down in the comments. And if you understood this video, go ahead and leave in the comments your race, your ethnicity, and your nationality just for fun so we can all get to know each other and understand and show that we all understood what those words mean now. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Happy International Women's Month. Bye.